Welcome to the It's All About Missions podcast with Brady Van Winkle, as we endeavor to talk about missions and the need for the gospel all around the world. We hope we can help you find your place in world evangelism. And for questions or for more information, please check out it'sallaboutmissions.com. And now we hope you enjoy the show. Hello, and thank you for joining us on this week's episode of It's All About Missions Country of the Week podcast as we continue talking about the different countries around the world. And we're going to be going back down to South America. Today we're going to be talking about a country I've learned quite a bit over the last few years because of people I know that have worked there. That's the country of Peru. And the country of Peru has a population of around 33 million people, a little less than 33 million, really close to 3 million. The capital city of Peru is Lima, with a population of around 7 million, probably closer to 9 million if you count the surrounding cities there in the capital city of Lima. And there's one other city that's over a million, around a million, is Arequipa, Peru. And I know Arequipa very well because of people that have worked there, that are working there currently. But you know, just because people are there, and I've talked to them, you'd say, oh, we know many people that are in the country of Peru. It's reach. We don't need to send anyone else there. It's reach with the gospel. But if you ask them, they've barely even scratched the surface. Our friends in Arequipa, they planted many churches, but guess what? They've barely even scratched the surface of the church. Yes, they've made some changes. Yes, God has worked there. But there's a great need for the gospel all over the country of Peru. And just because there's a few people that go there and work doesn't mean that we don't need to see anyone else there. And we need to be focusing on countries all around the world and praying for all the countries of the world and sending more people because people need help. They need the gospel. And there's millions upon millions of people all around the world that are dying going to hell. And the country of Peru here, the language, as you could guess, being in South America, is the main language is Spanish. And so you have Spanish there. So if you know Spanish or you can learn Spanish, it's one of the easier languages to learn. You can go there and take the gospel to these people. And it's basically predominantly a Catholic. Over 80% of the people would be considered Catholic. And again, that's the whole religion of South America is Catholicism is embedded in it. And a lot of people have been taught to think that Catholicism isn't that bad. It's close to Christianity, et cetera, et cetera. But the truth is it's horrible. It's awful. And the things that are said, the things that the people are taught, the way they live, the way they do their lives and everything, it's so sad to see and it's so sad to hear about because they have some of the Bible. They have the truth that people are not teaching the truth. They're taught to do all these works. They worship. Basically, they're worshiping idol-like things and doing all of these things, trying to please God and earn favor and hopefully earn their right to be able to get to heaven. And the sad truth is without Christ, they will die and spend eternity in hell. And we need to pray for the country of Peru. We need to pray for those that are already working there. We need to pray. There are many workers there. I pray that God will continue to work with those there. Pray for the Peruvian pastors that are there, that God will continue to work in their hearts and lives, that they'll be able to see men trained in their churches, and they can train these men and send them to other parts of Peru and even surrounding South American countries and all around the world with the gospel. But also we need to pray for those Christians that they'll be emboldened. They won't just be there and live their lives, but they'll be there willing to share the gospel with their friends and coworkers. But also we need to pray that God will raise up more laborers to go to the country of Peru. We join us in praying that God will send more people to the country of Peru to take the gospel there, that we can see Peru reach the gospel in this generation. But also let's pray for the Peruvians. Millions upon millions are lost and headed straight towards hell. And most of them don't even know they're going that way. And let's pray that God will open the eyes of the Peruvian people, that God will send more laborers, that they will hear the gospel, they will come to Christ, they'll be saved, and we can see Peru reached with the gospel in this generation. Not only that, but as I always challenge you each and every week, what are you doing to help see the world reach the gospel in this generation? Yes, we can pray for it. We need to be praying for it, but we need to be laboring. We should be faithfully attending church. We should be faithfully involved in your church that you're going to. You should be sharing the gospel. You should be doing discipleship. You should be giving towards missions. You should be willing to go on mission trips, and really you should be willing to give your life to go and take the gospel all around the world. And I ask you, if you have the opportunity to, hey, why don't you surrender your life and say, God, I'll go. I'll take the gospel to Peru. I'll take the gospel to these countries that don't know the truth. I will give my life to serve on the mission field, and I will take the gospel all around the world. And I want to ask you to join us this week, not only in praying for the world, but let's pray for the country of Peru, and let's pray that we can see Peru reach with the gospel in this generation. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of It's All About Missions. And we'd like to ask you to do a couple things for us. The first thing I ask you to do, so if you haven't already, please make sure to subscribe so you can stay up to date when all of our new episodes drop. And that way, as a new episode comes, you'll get a notification that lets you know, hey, we've got a new episode of It's All About Missions. Second thing I ask you to do, if you haven't yet, please make sure to leave us a review. These reviews are very vital, and they help us out, and they help other people to see us in the podcast player of choice. They'll see us and see those reviews and say, hey, I want to check out this podcast. And lastly, one other thing I'd like you to do, why don't you share us with a friend, a family member, somebody you know, and say, hey, why don't you go over and check out It's All About Missions? missions. That'll help us grow our audience, help people to know more about It's All About Missions. And guess what? It'll help more people get involved in reaching the world with the gospel. I want to challenge you to know that the Bible, it's all about missions. And as a Christian, your life should be all about missions. And what are you going to do to impact the world with the gospel in this generation?